Well, hello everybody. Here we are in lovely Austin, Texas at Austin Radiological Association. And we've got a couple of IT guys who are going to talk to us about a recent switchover and monitoring that they did at their data center. And you guys want to introduce yourself?
Sure, my name is Todd Thomas. I'm the Chief Information Officer for ARA.
Jeff Christie. I'm the Senior Network Engineer here at ARA.
Well, ARA is a privately owned, physician-owned outpatient imaging services provider. We have 15 locations in Central Texas. We do about 1.2 million annual exams per year. Our network is pretty extensive because we have to be able to support the transmission of digital medical images across the city.
The core business that you guys are doing is basically having a good enough network and then the devices attached to the network to send really high resolution images around to
Exactly.
be examined by people. So having the network and all those endpoints, what is the data center that you guys manage? Like what is that? What's the characteristics of it? What does that look like?
Well, it's located here on site. We have roughly 200 production servers that run anything from the patient information system where we schedule all of our patients to the digital imaging system to a voice recognition system to voice over IP, and then all the other different IT technologies that we use to support the environment. So we have some VMware, we have Active Directory, we have a number of different databases that we use to run the environment. So it's typical, I think, for an IT data center.
Yeah, I mean, like everyone, it sounds like you have a little bit of everything.
Right.
When you're looking at getting new monitoring software, like why did you guys decide to find something new? What were you guys looking for?
Our contract was up on the existing platform that we were using, so we saw it as a perfect opportunity to look at what has changed in the marketplace in the last 10 years.
What were sort of the requirements that you were going through? Like how did you sit down and sift through all the different options that are available?
Well, that actually is a tougher question than you'd think. First, I was the one who sifted through all of these. You started off with what we had, which was a high-end product, very expensive, covered all of our needs, but was older. Basically just read the generic basic information and wasn't very smart. And the product hadn't been updated. So we went out there and started downloading anything that had a trial and loading them up, testing them out, seeing if they worked, throwing them against our system, seeing what information we got, seeing what new things were out there. And the new things were what really sort of brought us to what we were looking for. Because anybody can monitor SNMP, anybody can give a pretty graph, but it's what else you do with it, what else you combine into that product. When you looked at the MRTGs and the even SolarWinds and some of those other little packages that are really well known, they covered the intake of messages that said, hey, this is an alarm, and they covered polling the stuff and said, hey, yeah, here's your little bit of help. There was very little root cause analysis involved, saying, hey, this is out, so this is going to affect here. Some of the newer stuff that really came to the front is deep dives into databases.
All right.
So that it could pull even more information from your databases, because in the old systems, it'd be like, hey, I can give you the health of the server. Here's his CPU, here's his memory, here's his disk space. Have a nice day. And when the SQL guy was being yelled at, why is the database slow? He was like, well, I don't have a tool for that. And it was like, okay, we'll go buy a SQL monitoring tool. And then, when the AD was slow, it was like, hey, go buy an AD monitoring tool.
Right.
There were all those tools that you're going to have to go buy, and some of the newer guys are saying, hey, just throw that in there. There's no reason that this monitoring tool that's pulling your network and pulling SNMP can't also pull your databases and pull in all the database information, and then can't pull your Active Directory and pull in all your Active Directory information. So when I was looking for a new monitoring software, it started off in that direction. I mean, mimic what we had. So the basics was covered. Is my stuff up and down? Because that's really important. As you know, we're not just talking, even bank transactions here. Yeah, an X-ray could be critical to somebody's life. So up and down is pretty important around here. But then what else could we give to help out with some of the pains that Todd was hearing from the doctors, from, hey, this is too slow, from the application people who were saying, hey, why is this not working?
So, given all those requirements, when you sort of finally chose AccelOps, like how well did it match what you guys needed?
It was the most versatile product that we tested. It is new, so there's the newness factor where it's missing some small things, but at the end of the day, the things they added with the identity location and some of the other really in-depth features took it a step above some of the final competitors. Sort of, we got to the end. I don't know how many hundreds. I think the final tally was I had loaded 70 monitoring systems.
Oh yeah, you must have kept an impressive spreadsheet to keep track.
There was a
of all.
very long spreadsheet with all the pros and cons, and
Right.
here's what this one did, and here's what this one didn't, and this one's running on MySQL, so it crashes the moment I go beyond 40 devices. So yeah, no, we had this whole database going, and it took, what, 6 months? 6 months of this. And AccelOps, I don't know where these guys got them, but the AccelOps went after the bells and whistles. They were like, okay, the core might need a little work, but the bells and whistles are amazing.
And so what are some of those bells and whistles that you guys are using?
We bring in all of our Nessus scans into the product now. We
right.
bring in IPS events into the product. Of course, it gives us all of our Active Directory events. It can give us information on all of our voice over IP calls. We're actually tracking how many calls we're making on the voice over IP system through AccelOps. So it's being able to take all that IT operational data and bring it into a single dashboard. So I don't have point solutions for my security guy, or point
Right.
solutions for the network guys, or point solutions for the server guys. It can really read and get information from quite a diverse set of appliances that you have
Right.
running in your environment.
I mean, on the face of it, AccelOps sort of just monitors things for you and tells you that everything's running well, but are there other areas that you're trying to push it into?
So one of the things that we're considering is we have to be able to report against who accesses a patient's record. So if you come into one of our facilities and you had an x-ray done 6 months ago and you say, hey, I want to know who's been looking at my record, we have to be able to generate that report.
Oh, right.
If we can pull that information out of our existing medical databases and put it into an AccelOps, we'll be able to report against that information.
All right.
We use an appliance today that sort of aggregates all of those logs. And so we've tinkered with the idea of pushing some of that into AccelOps to report against.
Right, so you would actually be not only monitoring IT, but sort of patient intake, and I mean, that you'd be monitoring the business.
Right.
That's
So
amazing.
it's one more device that we wouldn't have to have on our network now, because again, it's AccelOps is bringing that information now into that system.
Well, great. Well, I appreciate you guys spending all this time to go over how how you switched over your monitoring stuff. That's good stuff.
Absolutely.
No problem. It was a pleasure.